15th, 2024 meeting of the St. Joseph County Election Board. Let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our new person here up on the dais this morning is Eli Wax. Eli is here by designation of proxy from Tom Dixon, who is unable to be here today, and he'll be filling in. I am just filling in temporarily as chair. Tom remains as the chair of the election board. Let's take a look at the minutes. I believe we have, is it two sets of minutes?
Two sets, yes.
Approve. One is the minutes of February 20th, 2024. The other is the minutes of February 28th, 2024. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes as submitted?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor indicate by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next is the certification of ballot agreement. And Kim, could you explain what this is and why we are approving it?
Sure. The certification ballot agreement is a notice that will get placed at every vote center as well as each absentee office. It's just letting the public know that we have sample ballots available for them to view, and that the election board, by signing it, is agreeing that the ballots are going to be there for them to view and are the correct ballots for that election, and that's what that is.
Okay. And this is a form that is required by the state.
It is,
correct?
yeah.
Okay. All right. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I entertain a motion to approve certification of the ballot agreement.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor indicate by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, item 5 on our agenda, absentee training. Amy?
Sure. I just wanted to start out by saying, just reiterating that it is the county election board's responsibility for training, and just making sure that everybody knows that. But now I will pass it over to Tricia to talk more about the absentee training that will start happening very soon.
So once we get everybody and their drug tests back and everybody is ready to go, we will then schedule with Nick and Chris, and they will train them on the freedom votes, the poll pads, and the OVOs, all of our absentee workers. And we'll have Mishawaka come here as well so that they are training. And then when absentee is getting ready to open, those workers as well will have training. We have SOPs that we've had for a while, and we will make sure that Kim and I, clearly go through the process and the steps to make sure that it is followed as such, as according to the Indiana Code.
Very good.
And I see we have sample draft letters here to the vote center inspectors and judges, and then another one to the clerks and sheriffs, setting out the dates for the training sessions.
Right, that's actually number 7.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
We're going to get to there.
Yeah, there it is right there.
Okay, got it.
We can.
Okay, so we got everything we need on absentee training at this point then. All right.
Right, that's a separate, yeah.
Okay, let's go on to item number 6. Begin opening of ABS, absentee ballots, on Monday before the election. This is something that state law allows us to do but doesn't require us to do, so we need to talk about that.
That's exactly right, and I'm going to edit your comment because they're not absentee ballots that we're opening. It's just the envelopes, absentee envelopes. I don't want anybody to no. It is the envelopes that we're going to plan on opening. That's what we'd like to do. We would like to be able to increase our efficiency, especially with the numbers that we are expecting for this presidential. And this would be one way that sets firmly within code that we would be able to do it. My comments would be that they are treated just like the every other ballot envelope that gets locked into our ballot room, and you know what, it's under double lock and key. We have a security system that records everything inside the ballot room, and we have a log for who goes in and out of the room. So I firmly believe that this is a good thing, an efficiency that we could bring to especially this presidential election. But I would, let's see, I would like to have Nick weigh in on this and talk a little bit about our brand-new scanner that's going to help with efficiencies as well.
Absolutely. Thank you, Amy. And I'll just reiterate a point I made at a previous election board meeting for Eli. The last presidential primary, we had just over 22,000 absentee ballots to scan. We did not get done scanning and putting them into the tabulator until the Wednesday after the election at 3 p.m. So it did take 2 days to complete that. And then the general election was just over 58,000 absentee ballots to scan. We can't start scanning until election day. But if we had the ballots out of the envelope ready to roll, the new scanner would get us. It would be highly likely that we would have absentee results election night. And to, try it out for the primary, it would be great to have everything running smooth for the general as well.
So I'd just like to add that when Nick and Keith are here doing the scanning, every election day, they have to wait until the absentee ballot envelopes are open, and that in itself is quite a delay, at least an hour, maybe even more than that, before the clerks can process those ballots to open up the envelopes. So that's really what we're looking at in particular, is that hour of inefficiency, hour or more of inefficiency before the ballots can start to be tabulated. So that's...
And is there a starting time that the state allows on Monday? Is it after the polls close, or is it?
On Monday?
On Monday.
Actually, you can do it, I think it's 3 days before.
It is 3 days before.
We're asking for an extra day just to start opening and get the process and everything, rolling. So no to that.
Okay. And what is our recommendation in terms of when we would, what time of day we would start on Monday if we were to do that?
That would be up to the board, but
Right.
we could start as early as first thing in the morning on Monday,
Mhm.
before it is closed downstairs, or we can wait until it is closed downstairs. I mean, that would be at your guys' discretion.
And when we're speaking of being closed downstairs, that's absentee can continue to vote until noon on Monday, and then all of absentee closes. So, I think we have a couple of options. We could start at noon after absentee closes, or code allows us to do 3 days in advance.
And another thing to think about too is you could start with the mail so that you're not waiting. So like if you wanted to start at 8 a.m., they could start doing the mail ballot.
The mailed-in ballots, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
In terms of staffing, would we rely on some of the folks who are staffing absentee voting in the morning to
No.
handle the opening ballots also? No?
No.
Okay. So a separate staff.
Separate set of workers, yes.
All right. Any other questions, comments? And actually, I'd like to hear from, party chairs or party folks. Okay, come on up. Yep, come on up.
My only
Pam or
question-
Diana.
I guess my only question right now is, who's going to open them? You said it's not going to be the workers that are hired to work, so it's not going to be the early vote workers. So who is going to be opening the envelopes? Does it matter? Right?
Definitely not the absentee, because they'll still be working
Correct.
down there. Let you.
I mean, we have some clerks that are specific that are already paired up bipartisan that would be working on central count day. So
Okay.
we can use those. I'm trying to think.
Well, the other option is to have people that are already appointed by the parties and have them come in and do their due diligence the day before by opening up. And a lot of the people in the absentee office are already working, doing that. So if we have a good flow, you've given us all of your workers for, absentee, everything should be done in an efficient manner. If they start after absentee closes at noon, it shouldn't take long to close that office down, and those workers can be utilized too.
Okay, so that was my question, because most of them also then work central count the next day, so you don't have a lot of influx of other workers. Yeah, pardon?
Exactly, Diane, I agree.
Yeah, okay,
So,
thanks. Thank you.
And what level of staffing do we think we'll need for this, for the Monday operation? Any sense?
I personally don't feel that you're going to need a whole lot
No.
of eyes. If you're starting with the mail ballots, you are not, or no, in-person ballots, you are not going to be checking IDs or signatures. You are opening up the ballot by precinct in the order they received. You're making sure that you have a ballot for each person that you're supposed to. You are placing the ballot in a large envelope, which gets sealed with tape and then locked in the room. It's not going to be as long as the mail ballots, which you kept in pair of signatures. So you could use more, like on election day, you're going to have 20 groups of
Right.
people. You can use half of that.
So
to do
10
this.
teams
Yeah.
then to do that? Does that sound, from staffing perspective, does that sound reasonable, Diana? Say 10 teams to be able to carry on into the afternoon on Monday, to be able to work?
I guess we just have to make sure they can do that, if they do that.
Okay.
But wait, we don't need
Information.
10 teams on Monday.
On Monday, it's how many people we can get
Yeah.
that are working. Again, that goes back to what Diane said. If people have the availability, but you want to leave yourself open with wiggle room. So if you say 10 teams, and you're not able to get 10 teams, you're still okay with 6. But what we really need to do is, before we worry about that, is have
Pass the
board
resolution.
approve it.
Exactly.
Yes.
I was just going to mention that. It's almost
Up
like
to-
we're
up to
getting.
10 Up to
yeah.
10, up to 10 teams, and then whatever we're able to staff, I think would be,
How late would they work?
good question. Because if they will be reporting, some of those folks will be coming back at 8 AM on election day, presumably to,
I would say till 4:30, the end of the business day.
okay.
So do we need a resolution on this, or because it's already in code, what do we?
I think it'd be good to approve it for our particular situation. So and if we think up to 10 teams would be appropriate, I think it'd be an appropriate motion then to do that. And is that your?
So moved.
I'll second that.
We have a motion to approve up to 10 teams to process opening of ballot envelopes on the Monday before election, and up to 10 teams based on the ability of staffing and on times to be determined as well.
Great.
May I ask a question? Can you clarify, are we just opening the ballot envelopes or taking the ballots out on the early opening?
Want me to address that? Okay, we are actually, you are opening them up. You are taking them out, you're putting them upside down on the table.
Okay,
and
that's what
they're-
it sounded
right.
like,
Have you
but,
done central count?
a few
Okay,
years.
Do you know the process? You ever see the ladies that are putting all the ballots from one precinct into this big envelope and they tape them? You
we're
should
too
pay
busy
attention.
doing so,
Well, you
yeah.
ask a lot of questions for
I
not
know
paying
I do.
attention. Any which way, they will get sealed at that point. They will be
Okay.
out. That helps with the process for when they do the tabulation.
I
on
just
next
was
day.
wondering about the actual particulars, so thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. All in favor indicate by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
Could I make a small suggestion and have the board
Yes.
someone formally move second and a vote on the question about the delegation of the training responsibilities? I know we've talked about it, and I had that, we talked about it just a few minutes ago, but I think just to clear up anything in the future, there should be at least a vote on the concept that the election board is formally delegating and designating the St. Joseph County Clerk's Office as being responsible for training the absentee supervisors.
Microphone. All right, I would like to,
I'll make that motion
Okay.
to, the election board designates the clerk's office to do the training for was it absentee
Yes.
supervisors for that?
Yes.
For the primary election?
For the primary election.
Second that?
All right. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by the sign of aye.
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 Motion carries.
Thank you.
Great. Yep.
All right, moving on to item 7, vote center worker training and dates.
All right, we were able to get together and decide, present some options to the election board about vote center worker training and the dates for that as well. One thing that we would like to do that we are proposing would make it much more clear to the vote center workers is to train them with different job responsibilities. One thing that we learned from the previous election is that there were a little bit of confusion sometimes on the inspector's part and their duties and responsibilities, roles and responsibilities. So we understand that by having everyone together, like we have done in the past, clerks, sheriffs, judges, and inspectors all in the room at the same time, there is irrelevant information that's being presented to the clerks and the sheriffs because it's only relevant to the inspectors and the judges. So this year we would like to separate the two sets of roles and have the judges and the inspectors at their own separate trainings, and then the clerks and the sheriffs at their own separate training. I think this will really improve the information that we are expecting them to learn from. It will provide a lot of clarity. Oftentimes we would say, well, this does not apply to clerks and the sheriffs, but the inspectors and judges, you need to pay attention to this. And I think that's inefficient, and I'm not sure it's the best teaching method for a whole group of people. So if we can individualize the instruction, I think that's a much better way to go about the training. Do you have a question?
Yeah. Will there be still someone at each site that is familiar with the rules that would apply to everybody? Because one of in my experience, and sometimes when somebody is going rogue or not following policy, it's somebody else, one of the different roles who knows what should or should not be happening.
Right.
Will call that out. And but if it's too bifurcated that nobody has any information about what the other one's supposed to do, I just worry about having that that extra check in place. So obviously they don't report to each other or don't answer to each other like that. But would there be someone at each site that really has the understanding of what all the roles are generally?
I think my response to that, and Tricia, you can chime in, but the judges and the inspectors, oftentimes if an inspector doesn't show up or an inspector is unclear about things, they work together as a team. So it's a Democrat inspector and the Republican judge working together as a team. And again, both sets of judges would be in that training, both the Democrat and the Republican. So my observation is that you have 3 people who are understanding the roles of the vote center workers. Tricia, you want to chime in?
Well, and typically when we have a situation like that, the inspector is the one who will go, and if we're short somebody, they will be the one to move somebody up and make sure that they understand the process. So like if we had a judge not show up, they would take the sheriff and then explain what the judge's role is, depending on which judge doesn't show up. Then they would have to pull a clerk and then explain the process. But most of our workers are repeat workers, so they're all pretty familiar with the whole process. I don't think that there would be or could be any issue because the inspectors that we have are pretty well seasoned.
And we do have the availability of the deputy election commissioners. I know you and I served once as deputy election commissioners a few years back, just to go out to sites and to be able to kind of troubleshoot and make sure things are working smoothly. And generally, it seems to work pretty well.
I think we had a couple good war stories.
I think we did. Yeah.
As long as you're bringing that up, one one thing that I would like the election board to consider with the election commissioners, I think it would be a great idea to do spot checks. Instead of going out only when they are called out, the commissioners are only called out for trouble or to solve some kind of issue, it might be an interesting exercise to just do the spot checks, just drop into a vote center, just making sure that everything is going well. Because as you sort of alluded to, was vote center workers that might think that something is not 100% right, going about procedures and things like that, yet they're hesitant to call us and ask us about it. We've heard things like that after in the vote center worker feedback session that we had right after the election. I heard a few of that. Well, I wasn't really sure, so I didn't really want to say anything. And we always encourage them, oh, yes, call. But if they were to get just kind of a pop-in visit, hi, how's everything going? I think that might alleviate some of that insecurity of some of the clerks that are working, clerks and sheriffs.
And two, on that day, we have an idea of which areas are having issues, so we could, easily tell you guys, hey, can you pop in here and just check in with them? Because we get a lot of feedback.
You're talking about the election judges. The deputy.
Deputy election commissioners, yes, right, yes.
Would there be, and this is a little bit tangential, but I wonder if you're going to want the deputy commissioners to be able to go there and kind of have a sense of what should be or shouldn't be, maybe additional training and education for them would be beneficial as well. And I do know, since the people filling those roles are attorneys, if there would be an opportunity for a free CLE, that might be a way to incentivize prior training on that and get people more interested in that process.
I am so happy you asked that question. That's perfect, because I've been talking with other clerks around the state, and one of the ideas that one county does use is they encourage their attorneys to work the polls, and then they are granted 4 hours of CLE for that. And I didn't know who to approach, actually, to talk about that, and you brought it up. So I was going to talk to you, but as another means of engaging the community and being able to reward them. So
Free CLEs are like pizza to college students.
then we
you
should
want
be
them
good.
To show up,
So what would the next step on that be?
Yes, probably talking to Amy McGuire would be my guess, the executive director of the Bar Association. She organizes a lot of different CLEs on a lot of different topics throughout the year. I think that would be, I'm happy to follow up with her about this.
Perfect. That's
Yeah,
great.
yep.
Yeah.
And the other resource, I understand that Notre Dame has a kind of a democracy and elections project that is kind of ongoing. And my understanding is they are looking for opportunities for students to get involved, and maybe even some faculty members. So there may be an opportunity, to the extent that, we have, I'm not sure how many teams. I think last time we had maybe 2 teams or 3 teams for the municipal elections, but I would guess we would need more teams this time around. But if we have a couple of people, and maybe it's third-year law students, maybe even some faculty members who might be willing to participate, it might give them an opportunity that they wouldn't otherwise have to kind of see hands-on what's going on in the election process. So I think that would be a good place to touch base. There's a professor out there named Dave Campbell, and I think I've talked to him a couple times. I know that Tom has also talked to him a couple times. And so he might be a person to talk to. But I do think it's probably a good idea to set so that the parties know, to set the number of teams that we would expect for deputy election commissioners this time around, because sometimes I know we've done that at the last minute, and attorneys get their schedules filled up pretty quickly if we don't jump on that right away.
So just for clarification, you're talking about Notre Dame, this Dave Campbell, for deputy election commissioners. Is that correct?
He was one person that I would ask to get the resources, is to find out who to talk to.
Oh, okay.
I don't know that he himself. I mean, he teaches in political science department, I believe.
Okay, I'd be happy to do that. I am unclear. I think, didn't we have 4 teams at one point?
So,
Yeah,
Are you talking about election commissioners?
yes.
Yep.
The parties can choose to have up to 10.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we just usually say, you know, this is what we think we need,
Mm-hmm.
but if they want to have more, they can. So it really is up to the party chairs.
Okay.
And I guess my other question would be for Andrew as to what are the qualifications? So do the deputy election commissioners need to be registered voters of the county? And because of that, law students who are many times from out of town may not be eligible to serve.
Yeah,
Faculty
I'd have to
members
look.
could, but
yeah, I'd have
we probably ought to double check if you could.
It's usually just been left to the party chairs to pick who they,
Right.
you know, they wish, and I think it's coincidentally or incidentally always been. So it's always been left, you're the first people to ever not hear me, because I speak very loudly. So it shows you how bad the acoustics are, I apologize. So I think the question's never been raised just because traditionally party chairs pick lawyers who live in the county or practice in the county. And those people are always registered to vote, you know, at least in the area. So this question's never come up. So I'll have to look at the code to see exactly what the qualifications are to be a deputy election commissioner. Yeah, and I'll get you an answer to that, Chuck. No problem.
Thank you.
So Andrew will follow up with Amy McGuire.
I will about
And-
setting up a CLE for folks who want to serve as deputy election commissioners in the future, probably for the November election.
Okay. Well, the other county as well, they had them work the polls.
Oh, yeah.
That's what they did. They worked the polls, so.
I think it's still the party chair's discretion, but I think it would just be helpful for anyone interested in this role that, you know, I can't remember if I've ever done it before. I don't think I have, but like, I'm sure that different, you know, party chairs over the years have asked people to do it, and they're like, okay, I'm happy to volunteer my time on behalf of the party to help make sure that we have an efficient, free, fair election. But there's like, what do I do here? And unless they're an election lawyer, they're probably just kind of like, okay, everything looks good, like thumbs up. But, you know, having more of a formal training, an idea around that, I think is a good one.
I'm sorry we went down the wrong path on that.
That was
So
my
back to,
apologies.
no, I
good-
love
good-
it.
good questions, good questions.
Vote center worker training and dates. So by separating the roles and responsibilities, you have in front of you a draft letter. So we are considering for inspectors and judges, Saturday, May 4 at 10 o'clock, and Sunday, May 5 at 2:30. The reason for this is that we want to be able to give them their inspector bags immediately before the election. And the training would take place in this room. And then for clerks and sheriffs, we are going to have almost 400 clerks and sheriffs this year because of the increase. So we are offering 4 separate training sessions for them. We are no longer we want to no longer allow the Zoom option. We are finding that the the vote center workers that show up here are getting more information from being here than those on Zoom are. And so we are proposing Wednesday, May 1 at 2 o'clock, Wednesday, May 1 at 6 o'clock, Saturday, May 4 at 11:30, and Sunday, May 5 at 1 p.m. These are shorter sessions than they were previously because of the individualized training that's going to happen. So we've shortened up the time period a little bit. So I think we need approval on these 2 letters that are going to go out to the 2 different groups, the inspectors and judges and the clerks and sheriffs.
And that also presumably sets the dates and times as you've described them.
Yes.
Okay. I would entertain a motion then to that effect.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor indicate by the sign of aye.
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 All opposed, motion carries. All right, moving on then to item 8, adding additional clerks to some voting center sites.
I'd like to let Chris Lyle, who's our lead vote machine technician.
Yeah, so as most of you know, we have physically visited, myself, Kim, Tricia, and some other folks, all 42 sites. And we listened to some of the folks that were there on some needs or some concerns. And I also went back and did some analytics on ballot check-ins, what actual folks were there as far as during the elections all the way back 2 to 3 years. What we did was we identified 13 sites that we feel need additional check-ins for a couple different reasons. First of all, flow. We also know that there's some safety concerns at some sites where this flow will be better for that. And I also think that knowing the numbers that we're going to get this year, that is going to be beneficial for us in a lot of ways. So there's 13 sites, which means we need 26 total 1R, 1D for each additional for that. So I think it will behoove us. I think it would be very good for us. I think it will be beneficial for us to do this. And I think just from a voter perspective, not to have to wait in line that long, because we're going to have these additional check-ins on some of these sites are going to be not only beneficial to get folks to come, because a lot of times that deters them, but knowing that that's going to be the case and we're going to be able to help them get through quicker and faster and get out of there, I think it's going to be very good for us overall. So that's what I'm proposing.
And do you have the names of those sites, just out of curiosity?
I don't have them in front of me, but I do.
I do. I have it in front of me.
Okay, if you could give, just give it to, so we can see them.
Of course she does.
Do you want to do it? It's Center Township Library, Clay High School, Harris Branch Library, Jackson Middle School, John Adams, John Young, Marquette Montessori, McKinley, North Point, Palmer, Prairie Vista, Schmucker, and St. Joe County Public Library.
And based on your review, it's the clerks, that is the choke point that...
It is, yeah. So what we've seen, and I've physically have seen, is that is really kind of the bottleneck. I have enough freedom votes within specific sites that I feel comfortable enough that when they get there, they can get in and out. It is the check-in process because obviously they don't have their ID, or there's something going on, or they have a question. That's really the pinpoint there, that stage one of everything hits our bottleneck. Because after that, it's really free and you're good to go and you're going to the next stage quite quickly. It's that specific spot there that's our bottleneck.
And we do have adequate equipment to
We
accommodate
do,
this?
absolutely, yes.
One observation that was brought up again at that Vote Center worker feedback session was people not having their ID out when they approach the poll pad. So that's going to be a red flag issue in our training for our sheriffs, who are the ones that usually greet our the voters, and making sure that they are holding their ID in their hand, because these new wallet styles are, they hold your ID in there, and there's a window, and many people just think they can just show their ID that way. So that'll be a red flag issue to help with that.
Yep, absolutely.
I know that, I think at various times in the past, the license branches, when they've gotten crowded, will have somebody kind of walk back through the line and just kind of tell people 2 or 3 things, have your ID out, have it ready outside your wallet, that kind of thing. And so I don't know that we have ever authorized clerks or anybody to actually do that, but that might be an additional thing if someone can kind of walk the line and just have 2 or 3 things to kind of remind people what to do.
That's a great idea. And I've seen where the sheriff there at the door would go back and do that at many times at many sites.
To do that.
Yeah, because they're kind of that, again, pinpoint, whether it's at the door of the entrance or they're at the door coming into the facility, that would maybe, I think, would be probably the best candidate to be able to do that for us.
And that also reminds people, oh, my ID is in my car, or my driver's license is in my car. It allows them, before they've all the way through the line, to jump back and take care of something like that. So that I think would be a good service.
Agree.
So do we need to vote on that?
I think we do need to vote on that. Give a motion to that effect?
I move to add additional clerks to specific vote center sites for the primary election.
13 sites?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And that'll be, additional means 1 extra team?
1R and 1D you'll need,
So
yes.
one extra team
Yes.
each for those 13 sites. I second that.
Okay.
And this will be for the primary and general, just to be
Oh, primary and
specific, by the
general.
way. I think,
That's
yes,
true. That's
very
right,
true.
yeah.
yeah.
Primary and general.
Primary and general.
Right.
And I second that.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor indicate by the sign of aye.
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 Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. All right, let's go on to item 9, Secretary of State Pilot Program.
Okay, actually, I have a couple of these rolled in. This is the Secretary of State Pilot Program. Legislation just passed about 2 weeks ago in downstate, and it allows the Secretary of State to use an additional third-party verification system for address verification for our registered voters. We already use the post office, the Social Security Administration, the Department of Health, Department of Corrections, and the BMV as well for address verifications. Just to add a little context to this, the reason for this is people have been looking at the demographic and the change of address, and particularly most people under 40 are they do not fill out a change of address when they move, but when they apply for a credit card or when they buy a house or when they do anything in that regard, they are very, very responsive to adding their new address, to updating their address. And so that's been recognized in a few different states, and the Secretary of State's office here has agreed to do a pilot study on that third-party verification. And they reached out to St. Joseph County to see if we would be one of the counties that would do the pilot. And I'm just giving a very broad overview because Andrew and I are going to talk after this meeting and look through the paperwork, just learn more about it. But I just wanted to bring it up to you that we were approached by the Secretary of State's office to look into that. So it's just for informational purposes. I don't think we need to do anything, but we'll keep you apprised as to what's happening with that. So the next thing is to update everyone on the Election Assistance Commission, our grant that we received for recruiting college-age poll workers. So just last week, I was in front of council and finished up all the details. Thank you, Tricia, for the budgetary part of it, to get that money set and ready to go. So we've created this program, and again, I'm just going to give you a high-level view of it. It's called Work the Vote 2024, and the purpose of the grant is to reach out and connect with the different academic institutions that are here in St. Joseph County. We have 8, and to educate them, inform them about Election Day, about the benefits of working on Election Day, with the goal to be recruiting more vote center workers for the primary election and the general election, because the grant goes until 2025. Where we are right now is we have to hire 2 program coordinators, and the program coordinators are the ones that will actually be out doing the work. So again, we're in the very beginning stages of this, and so we will be putting out some more information. It's actually already posted on the county website, the position for program coordinators for Work the Vote. I've been working closely with Elizabeth Benyon from IUSB. She's been very helpful. She was helpful in guiding me with the grant application, and she has the job descriptions that are posted on our county website. She also has them, so she's reaching out to her community and letting them know about that. So that's about where we stand on Work the Vote. But let me see. We will, Diana, the program coordinators are the ones that will be reaching out and doing the recruiting. I look at it basically as a sales and marketing job for the program coordinators. It's nonpartisan. It's not, nobody's recruiting for one party or the other. They are recruiting college students. Then they will let us know who they have recruited and who has made the commitment, sure, I'll sign up, and then we will send those applications to the parties. So it's still the parties that are the ones that are getting the names. So that's not what we do. Our program coordinators are just going to do the recruiting and the managing the relationship. It's a beautiful, robust grant where they are addressing the problem of not having enough young vote center workers. So I'm very happy that the EAC has given grant money to try to figure this out and figure out some best practices. So then the end result of the grant, after both election cycles have happened, is some time for these program coordinators to document the programs and best practices. And so they will be collecting data the whole time. This is all social media based. This is the new way to recruit this generation, is through social media. And these program coordinators, that will be one of the qualifiers, is that they're very skilled in that. But they will be able to collect data all the way through on what postings were successful, what events were successful, those kinds of things. So then at the end of the grant, we do have a document to guide us as we go into the next election cycle. So, sorry, that was quite long, but but that is where we are with this. So.
Yeah, that sounds very, very, very favorable, especially to the extent that we can collect some data and use that information to be able to structure programs and ways to recruit in the future.
Mm-hmm.
If this works well, or if there's some parts that work well, then that's good to know.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
All right. Anything else on that topic?
No, I'm done.
All right. Let's go on to item number 10, vote center update. Chris?
So just quickly, we are in the process of downloading the election at this present time, so it's good news. We're getting ahead of it, being proactive. I have already identified how many machines, both Freedom Votes, poll pads, and OVOs we're going to need for each site. I also want to make a note that I am proactively looking at that now because we are going to have an additional satellite site in the general. So I just want to make sure that we're going to have all the necessary equipment necessary now to make sure that we're going to be good for the general. So as of right now, we're good for Freedom Votes, poll pads, and OVOs for that. And we'll continue to download elections. If anything comes up, I'll let you guys know. But as of right now, everything's going very smoothly.
And it's only March 15.
Right, exactly.
That's nice and early. So, and I know in the past we've had particular vote center sites that have had some issues. Have we kind of identified those and worked through the issues that
Yep.
we've had to deal with last time around?
Yes. Yep.
All right. Anything else on that? All right. Item 11, other business, and does the board have any other business items to bring up?
I just wanted to remind everyone that the public test is on April 3 at 10 o'clock, and that is an election board meeting.
So that will officially be our next meeting, and that'll be at the warehouse.
10 a.m.
10 a.m.
10 a.m.
And I want to remind everybody to make sure you sign that IEC 40 for the ballots,
Yep.
please. I need that.
All right.
Thank you.
You can just put pro tem or, on proxy of Thomas Dixon or something like that. Do we know who you are?
Yep.
Chip-chap.
Anonymity is good sometimes, but not for this.
That's right. Any public comment? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion that we adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are adjourned.
Chuck did a darn great job.
April 3rd, yes.